Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great. I'm your host Preeti and I'm happy to welcome you to today's session on building scalable MERN stack application. I'm sure you'll find today's session full of helpful insight and tips you can put to use right away. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Sagar. He is a software developer and trainer who is hardworking, flexible, and great at what he does. Whether it's working on the user interface, writing the application logic, or managing database, he's great at juggling different tasks and always aims to deliver his best work. Sagar has a lot of experience in building and improving JavaScript programs, which are the backbone of MERN stack application. He loves teaching and sharing his knowledge, so we can look forward to a clear, informative, and very practical session ahead. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Sagar. Over to you, sir.
Hello everyone. My name is Sagar Goud. So right now I'm working for Gigs for Gigs. Okay. So I have a pretty good amount of experience in the industry. I have like around 8+ years of experience as a SDE, and even I have the 7+ years of experience as a software developer. Plus, and I can say, sorry, it's a software trainer. And through all my training journey, I have trained people on full stack development like MERN stack, mean stack, and even on the Java stack as well. So this is very short introduction about me, guys. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So guys, in today's session, we are going to understand about something called MERN stack. So how many of you know what is MERN stack? So exactly what is MERN stack? So if you have any kind of idea, what is MERN stack? Let me know on the chat. Okay, so many people are giving me the full forms like MERN stack full form. What M stands for what, E stands for what, R stands for what, N stands for what, right? Apart from that, do you guys have any other way to express what is MERN stack? Okay, so let me try to explain, guys, what is basically MERN stack. MERN stack is a full stack development with JavaScript. So what is MERN stack? So basically, this MERN stack is a full stack with JavaScript. Full stack with JavaScript. That is what MERN stack is all about. So it's just a full stack with JavaScript. This is very important to understand. So MERN stack is a full stack with JavaScript. Then what is this full stack? What is the meaning of this full stack? What is this full stack? So basically, this full stack is nothing but it is a process of developing web application. Full stack is nothing but it is a process. It is a process of developing web application. It is a process of developing web application. That is what we call as a full stack development. So a lot of people will say that full stack is nothing but front end plus back end plus database. These three terms they are going to use to define what is full stack. But instead of using these three terms like full stack, for example, front end, back end, database, better to say that full stack is nothing but it is a process of developing web application. This is what the term you guys have to use. That is web application. The people who knows how to develop web application, people who knows how to develop this web application, those people are called full stack engineer or full stack developer. Those people are called full stack engineer or full stack developer. Full stack developer. So many people don't know what is full stack development. They come up with a lot of different terms, different way of expressing it. So what I feel the best way to express what is full stack is, it is just a process of developing web application. So the people who can develop this web application, the people who can develop this web application, those people are called full stack engineer, or you can call them as a full stack developer. Then what is this MERN stack? What is this MERN stack? MERN stack is also full stack only. But why this special name came means, if any person who can develop web application, using MongoDB, Express.js, React.js, and Node.js. Such people are called MERN stack engineers or MERN stack developers. The people who uses MongoDB, Express.js, React.js, and Node.js for developing web application. Those people are called MERN stack engineers or MERN stack developers. So M stands for your MongoDB, E stands for Express.js, R stands for React.js, N stands for Node.js. Got it, guys? What is full stack? What is MERN stack? And who are called full stack engineer or full stack developer? Is it clear? Let me know on the chat. Yes or no? Nice. Okay. So before we start our session, first of all, we should have the idea. What is MERN stack? Because the workshop title is development of MERN stack, right? So we should be clear with the term what is MERN stack. That is the reason I have started my session with what is MERN stack. But while understanding the MERN stack, you should have the knowledge on what is full stack. That's why I have introduced what is full stack. And based on this, I have explained you what is actually MERN stack stands for. So MERN stack or full stack, both are one and same. Just we have different terms in the industry. Apart from that, nothing else. If you are developing any web application using these technologies, you guys are called MERN stack engineer, or you can call yourself as a full stack engineers also. You can call yourself as a full stack engineers also. So in today's session, we are going to see how to create a MERN stack application. So today's session is all about to understand how to create MERN stack application. MERN stack application. So in today's session, let's create one small MERN stack application so that you will get the idea exactly how web application looks like. What is web application? What is full stack development? What is MERN stack development? All those things are going to get clear. Okay. So before we start developing our first MERN stack application, little bit theoretical knowledge we should have on MERN stack, on web application. So let's try to understand what are those. So first, let me try to explain you guys what is web application. What is web application? I hope everybody is aware of web application, because In our day-to-day life, everyone is using web application. The examples of your web applications are our favorite application, that is Instagram, Facebook, Flipkart, all Gmail, all these are the examples of web application. Like this, we have lot of applications in the market. Suppose if I want to access this Instagram application, what I have to do, guys? What I need to do? What I need to do? If I need to access this Instagram application, first I have to open the browser. So let me just go to my browser. Let me open it. Once I open my browser, in this address bar, I have to type URL. Second step is type URL in address bar. Now here I have this address bar. Here I have to type some URL like instagram.com. Press on enter button. The moment you press on enter button on your system, you will see that Instagram application. So here you will be able to access this Instagram application. In the same way, suppose if I want to access any other web application like Flipkart, again I have to open browser. I have to type here flipkart.com and press on enter button. You will see that you are able to access the Flipkart application. So here this Flipkart is web application, this Instagram is web application. Like that, we have Facebook as well. This Facebook is also web application. So the people who can develop this kind of applications like Facebook or Instagram or Flipkart using these technologies, those people are called MERN stack engineers. Then how to define what is web application? So anybody knows what is web application? Can you guys define? Anyone who wants to define what is web application? In a simple words also, it's okay. Okay. So let me try to explain, guys, what is web application in very simple words. Any software application which is accessible through browser via internet, such applications are called web applications. Any application, any software application which is accessible through browser via internet, and those applications are not installed on user system. Such applications are called web application. What is web application? Any software application which is accessible through browser via internet and not installed, and those applications are not installed on user system. Such applications are called web applications. Now, if you see, to access this Instagram application, the first thing, I have opened my browser. Then using internet, I am able to access this application. So to access this Instagram application, I require two components, that is browser, and next I require the internet. Without browser, without internet, I cannot access this Instagram application. In the same way, if you see this Flipkart application, so to access this Flipkart application, again I required browser, I required internet. And this Flipkart application, I did not install in my system. This application is not installed in my system, but I am able to access through browser via internet. So this application, Flipkart application, is called web application. Instagram is called web application. Facebook is called in web application. Okay. So a very simple way to define what is web application. So whether you are MERN stack engineer or any other stack, full stack engineer, the ultimate goal of a full stack engineer is to develop web application. The ultimate goal of MERN stack engineer or any full stack engineer is to develop web application. That is the reason, guys, the people who knows how to develop web application, those people are called full stack engineer or MERN stack engineer. The people who knows how to develop web application, those people are called full stack engineer or MERN stack engineer. Is it clear, guys, up to here? So we have started our discussion with how to create MERN stack application. Now to create MERN stack application, you should know what is web application. Here I have explained you the examples of web application and I have defined you what is web application. Now let's understand a very high level architecture of a web application. This knowledge is very important to develop our first MERN stack application. You should know a high level architecture of a web application. High level architecture of a web application. So if you take any web application in the market, that application is divided into 3 sub applications. Okay, so your web application is divided into 3 sub applications. First, second, and third. And those 3 sub applications are, the first sub application is your front end application. Second sub application is your backend application. And third sub application is your database. If you take any web application in the market, your web application is divided into 3 sub applications. Those are front end application, backend application, and database. Okay. So in diagrammatic way, we can tell like this. So if you have a front end application, if you create backend application, and if you create database, if you create like this database, and if you connect all these 3 applications, then this entire structure is called web application. This entire structure is called web application. So if you want to develop web application, it means internally you have to create front end application. You have to create backend application. You have to create database. Then you have to join front end application with backend application. You have to connect backend application with the database. Then this entire architecture, this entire structure is called web application. Now, in this session, we are going to develop our first database, and that is MongoDB. We are going to create MongoDB database in our session. We are going to create our first backend application using Node and Express. we are going to create our first front-end application, that is using React.js. And I will show you how to connect front-end with backend, backend with database. And finally, we will be able to create our first MERN stack application or full stack application in this session. We will create our first basic MERN stack or full stack application in this session. So to create first MERN stack or web application, first you have to create front-end application, back-end application, database, and you have to connect them. So all these things we are going to see step by step. Is it clear, guys? Anyone have any doubts up to here? Understood that your web application is divided into 3 sub-applications, and what are those 3 sub-applications? And using which technologies we are going to develop those 3 sub-applications. Is it clear for everyone? Okay. Now let's come back here. Let's start with first database part. Okay, so here we are going to create our first web application. Create a web application. Now using MERN stack we are going to create. Now in this process, first we are going to create this database. First we will see how to create this database part. This database part we will try to create. So let's create database. Create a MongoDB database. Now to create MongoDB database, first we have to install. The first step is we have to install MongoDB server. We have to install MongoDB server. So if you want to create MongoDB database, first you have to install MongoDB server. Then next you have to install Mongo client. You have to install one more software called Mongo client. So first we have to install MongoDB server, then we have to install Mongo client. What is the use of this Mongo client? Let's assume that you have installed MongoDB server. Let's assume that this is our MongoDB server, which you have installed in your system. Now inside this MongoDB server, we can create any number of MongoDB database. I can create any number of MongoDB databases. Like I can create database 1, I can create database 2, I can create database 3, I can create database 4. Like this, any number of databases I can create. So all these are called databases. Inside these databases, inside each database, we are going to create something called container, something called collections. We are going to create something called collections. Like this, we can create any number of collections. Now, what are collections? Collections are like containers. They are like containers, which is going to hold the data. So these collections are going to hold our data inside the database. So it's very similar to your tables in other databases like Oracle or MySQL. If you guys have knowledge on Oracle or MySQL or RDBMS databases, in that there is a concept of table. So similar to table, in our MongoDB database, we have a concept of collection. So these collections are like container, which is going to hold our data. Inside this container, we can store our data in object format. We are going to store our data in object format like this. So technically this object format is called JSON format or BSON format in MongoDB. But right now we are not entering into that much technical part. So right now At this point of time, you can understand that we are going to store our data in the object format inside this collection. So inside one collection, we can store any number of objects, any number of objects. Now these objects technically in MongoDB database are called documents. Those are called documents. Documents are nothing but objects only. Documents are nothing but objects only in which our data will be present. So this is how a MongoDB basic architecture you will find. So you have to install first MongoDB server. Then inside that server, we can create any number of MongoDB databases. Inside the database, we can create any number of collections. Inside each collection, we can store any number of documents. We can store any number of documents. So first, we need to install this MongoDB server. Now, to create these databases, to create these collections, to insert the data, to access the data, to delete the data, or to update the data, if you want to perform all this operation, then we required one interface. We required one interface. Using that interface, we are going to add commands. We are going to use commands to perform all these operations. Like if you want to create databases, if you want to create collections, if you want to add new data or access the data or update the data or delete the data. If you want to perform these operations, you require one interface. And using that interface, you can add commands. You can add commands. And using those commands, you can perform required operation. And that interface is nothing but your Mongo client. Mongo client. So using this Mongo client, first we will connect. First we will connect with our MongoDB server. And once we connected with MongoDB server, then we perform required operations. Like we will create database, we will create collection, we will add our data. These are the three operations we are going to perform. So what are the things we are going to do? Let me add all those steps. First, we will install MongoDB server and Mongo client. Second, we will connect Mongo client with MongoDB server. So first we will install MongoDB server and Mongo client. Then we will connect MongoDB client with MongoDB server. Once this is done, third step, we will create our first database. Create first database. After creating database, inside that database, let's create collection. Let's create collection. And fifth step, we will insert the data. We will insert the data. These are the steps what we are going to follow. So we are going to create database, then we will create our collection, and then we will insert the data. We will insert the data. So let's see first how to install this MongoDB server. So to install this MongoDB server, go to your browser, search for mongodb.com. Search for mongodb.com. So when you search for mongodb.com, you will land on their official website. Now select this products option. Click on this product option. Then click on this community edition option. Now scroll down. Click on download option. Once you click on download option, another page will open. Again scroll down. Now here you will have the option to install this MongoDB server. So scroll down. If you are using Windows, select here Windows. If you are using Mac, select Mac. If you are using Linux, select Linux. And then click on this download button. So right now I am using Windows system. So here by default Windows is selected and package is MSI. Now click on download button. The moment you click on download button, one installer file will download. .msi file will download. So the moment you click on download button, your file will download. So right now already I have downloaded it. So I will just pause this download part. Let me go to my downloads. Now here you will see something like this. So let me just check. Yeah. So here you are finding something MongoDB -Windows. So this is how the .msi file will download. So we call it as an installer file. Now double click on this file. When you double click on this file, one wizard will open. Like this wizard will open. Click on next button. Select this checkbox. Click on next button. Select this complete option. Then click on next button. Now here by default, there will be one option, install MongoDB Compass. Right now, don't install it because it will take a lot of time to install. So uncheck this option and again click on next. Even if you install, there is no problem, but installation process will take little bit time. That is the reason I'm saying you to uncheck this option. Then click on next. Click on install button. It will just take less than 1 minute for you guys to install this MongoDB server in your system. Okay, very simple installation. So once you download this .msi file, double click on it. One wizard will open. Then you have to click on the next option. Select this checkbox. I accept the terms in the license agreement. Click on next button. Click on this complete button. Click on next option. Uncheck this option, MongoDB Compass, and click on next option and click on install button. It will take less than 1 minute to install this MongoDB server in your system. So right now what we have done, we have installed MongoDB server. Once MongoDB server is installed, then you install Mongo client. How to install Mongo client? Same process. Go to your browser and just search for Mongo client. So when you search for Mongo client, you will get lot of options here. Or instead of Mongo client, let's do one thing, guys. Let's install Mongo shell. Okay. Here you try to search for Mongo shell instead of Mongo client. Mongo shell. So let me add this term here. Mongo shell. So again, Mongo client means you have to do a lot of steps. So let's go with Mongo shell. That is easy. So just select, search for download Mongo shell. If you search for download Mongo shell, directly you will get that download option. So just click on this MongoDB shell download option. You will land on their official page. Scroll down. Here you will get the option MongoDB shell download. Scroll down. Here you have zip format, or you can select this MSI format. Better to select MSI format because directly we will get that installer package. Click on download button. So when you click on download button, it will install that Mongo shell in your system. So once it is downloaded, go to your downloads option and just double click on this file. One wizard will open. Click on next, click on next, click on install. That's it. Click on next, click on next, click on install. MongoDB shell will install in your system. It will install MongoDB shell. So we have installed MongoDB server, MongoDB shell. So once installation is done, next what we have to do, we have to connect our Mongo shell, nothing but Mongo client. Mongo shell is nothing but Mongo client only. We have to connect our Mongo client with MongoDB server. So how to connect our Mongo client with MongoDB server? For that, open your command prompt. Okay, so here I am trying to connect Mongo shell with MongoDB server. So for this, what we have to do? First, we have to open command prompt, or you open your terminal. In Windows, we have command prompt. So open your terminal or open command prompt. So here I will open my command prompt. So once we open this command prompt, now here you have to type Mongo shell. You have to just type Mongo shell and press on enter button. That's it. The moment you type this command and you press on enter button, internally your system Mongo shell will connect with your MongoDB server. That's it. Second step is type Mongo shell and press on enter button. Press on enter button. That's it. The moment you type, you will see here something called a test. The moment you find this test, it means successfully you have connected your Mongo shell with MongoDB server. Okay, right now we are only in the workshop session. That is the reason I'm not trying to explain you in very detailed way. So if you join the course, when I take my full stack course or MERN stack course, now this introduction part will go for 3 to 4 sessions, where I will explain everything. What is database? What is the purpose of database? What is NoSQL database? Why MongoDB came into picture? What is the difference between relational database and NoSQL database? What are the advantage with relational database? What are the disadvantage with relational database? Why NoSQL database came into picture? What are the advantage of MongoDB, disadvantage of MongoDB? Where we have to use MongoDB, when we have to use? All those things we will discuss. Then installation part also in very detailed way we will discuss. Why we have to install Mongo shell? Why we have to install MongoDB server? What is that server? Means lot of theoretical concepts will come into picture. It will go for nearly 3 to 4 sessions for me to explain that much knowledge, that much concepts to the students. But right now we are in the workshop kind of session. That is why on very high level I am saying we are installing MongoDB server. We are installing MongoDB shell. We are connecting MongoDB shell with MongoDB server. Now I want to clear this content. So for that we can use CLS so that content will be cleared. So now what we have done, we have connected our MongoDB shell with MongoDB server. We have connected with MongoDB server. So this connection is done. Now my requirement is in this MongoDB server. This is my MongoDB server. Now in this MongoDB server, I want to create database. I want to create one database. Now which database we can create inside the MongoDB server? We can create MongoDB database. I want to create MongoDB database. How to create MongoDB database inside this server? For that, we are going to use this MongoDB shell. Now, this MongoDB shell is providing us this interface. Now here we have to use one command to create one database in our MongoDB server. So how to create database? It's very simple. How to create database? So to create database, we have to just use a simple command, use your database name. Just you have to use this simple command. You have to use and you have to give your database name and press on enter button. One database will be created. See here, I am saying use. I will say something like Shine.DB and press on enter button. Now one database is created with the name Shine.DB. That's it. This is the simple command we have to use to create database. One database is created now. Now in this database, I want to, so here I am adding that command, use DB. Now inside this database, I want to create one collection. I want to create like this one collection. So your database contains lot of collections. I want to create like this 2 collections. So if you want to create collection, a simple command we have to use, db dot create collection. We have to use a simple command called db dot create collection. db dot create collection, and we have to add our collection name. Here we have to provide collection name. That's it. This is the simple command we have to use. Let's use this command now. Here I am using db dot create collection. So I am creating one collection called users. Press on enter button. If you get this message, OK1, it means collection is created. If you want to create one more collection, I can create one more collection like products. See, one more collection is created. Now I want to check how many collections are present in this Shine database. In this Shine DB, I want to check how many collections are there. For that, we have a command show collections. Now it will show you 2 collections, products, users. So this step is also done. So we know how to create collection. Now we know how to create database as well. So let me just increase this font size. Here we have to create now db dot create collection. And here your collection name. You have to pass here collection name. In string format, you have to pass. Now inside this collection, I want to store some data. Okay. So let me store some user data. Let's assume that in my application, in my database, I want to store users information. Like I want to store username, user gender, user email, and user city. These are the 4 informations I want to store related to one user. Like this, I want to store 10 users information. I want to store 10 users information. And let me store password also. Password also let me store. So like this, 5 information I want to store related to 10 users. So for that, we required this data, right? 10 users data we required. So we will take the help of ChatGPT. So we will go to the ChatGPT. So here now we will use our AI tool. Now we will ask AI tool to create 10 users data for us. So we will say create 10 users data for MongoDB database with name, gender, city, email, and password equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. So create 10 users data for MongoDB database with name, gender, city, email, and password with this value I am saying. Let's see whether it will create or not. So see, it is creating that data for us. So it is creating name, gender, city, email, password. Means it is creating the data in the format that is required for MongoDB database. Now this is object format. We call this as an object format. Now I will copy this data Once this data is created, okay, I will copy this data. Now it is giving the command also, what command we have to use to insert this data. So I will copy this data. I will go to my MongoDB shell, and here I will use some command like db dot users dot insert many, some command I am using, and I will paste that data here. Now see, all this data got inserted. So what I have done, third step, the third step is insert the data. How to insert the data? For that we have a command db dot our collection name dot insert many function. And here we have to paste our data in the array format. So now my data is stored in my database. So if I want to check whether the data is stored or not, then I can use here one command db dot users dot, if I say find, it will give me all the data present in the database. See, this much data we have stored in our database. So right now, what I have done, guys, suppose this is my entire web application. In this web application, I just created the database right now. I created the database. I created one database. In this database, I have stored 10 users data. I have stored 10 users data. I have 10 users data. This is my database. So we have created our database. Next, what we have to create? We have to create our backend application. We have to create our backend application. And this backend application, we have to create using Node.js plus Express.js. Using Node.js, and you have to use Express.js. Yeah. So before I proceed with this part, let me know whether you have understood the concept. See, right now you cannot remember all these things because this is the only session we have where I am using directly this command. But you should understand the concept. Acha, we want to create one web application. We created database. So to create that database, we installed one MongoDB server. We installed one MongoDB shell. Using this shell, we are using some commands and we are creating the database. And we are storing some data in the database. This is what you guys have to understand. So let me know on the chat whether you have understood up to here or not. Whether you are understanding the process or not. Okay. Yeah. Now let's understand how to create this backend application. Now let's create a simple backend application with Node and Express. So to create a simple backend application with a Node and Express, the first thing what we have to do is we have to install Node.js server. We have to install Node.js in our system. So how to install Node.js? It's very, very simple. Go to your browser. Here type for download Node.js and press on enter button. You will get here official website. Click on this. Directly you will land on this download option. And here you can click on this download button. Windows installer. Click on that download. So it will download one .msi file. So what you have to do? Just you have to search download Node.js. Then you will get the first link as your Node.js official website. You can just visit that website. So you will land on this download page. Just scroll down and click on this Windows installer. So it will install .msi, nothing but it will download .msi file. Once it is downloaded, so you will find something like this, node-22. Then just double click on it. One wizard will open now. So here this next button is not enabled. Wait for a few seconds, it will enable. So once it is enabled, click on next. Select this checkbox. Again, click on next. Click on next. Click on next. Click on next. Click on install. That's it. Very, very, very simple way to install your Node.js in your system. So what we have to do, once we have downloaded that installer file, double click on it. One wizard will open. Wait for a few seconds. Next button will enable here. Let's wait. Now, once it is enabled, click on next. Check this checkbox. Click on next. Again next. Again next. Again next. Till you get install button, click on next. Click on install. It will install in your system. Node.js will install in your system. A very, very simple way to install Node.js. Once Node.js is installed in your system, second, you have to open Visual Studio Code. We have to open IDE called Visual Studio Code. In short, we call this as a VS Code. We call it as a VS Code. Suppose if you don't have this Visual Studio Code in your system, then you try to install it. The installation of Visual Studio Code is also very similar to Node.js. Same steps. First, visit the website, click on download button, and then one file will be downloaded. Double click on the file. Click on installer file. It will open the wizard. Just follow the steps. The same steps we have to use for installing Visual Studio Code also. Now this part you can take like an assignment. So in case if you don't have, but I am assuming that everybody already installed Visual Studio Code, because already you might be coming from HTML, CSS, JavaScript background, and already you are working with this Visual Studio Code. That is the reason I am just skipping the installation part of this one. So install Visual Studio Code. Once it is installed, third, create a folder. Third step, create a folder in any drive. You have to create one folder in any drive. Like I can go to my E drive or D drive. And here I can create one folder. So in my E drive, I am creating one folder, something called backend. Create one folder. Next, open the VS Code. Open VS Code. Now, once you install this Visual Studio Code, it will create one icon on your desktop. This is the icon you will find on your desktop once Visual Studio Code is installed. Now, just double click on this icon. This Visual Studio Code will open. So just double click on this, Visual Studio Code will open. Now, whatever folder we have created, right, that folder we have to open in this Visual Studio Code. So when you open Visual Studio Code, this is the user interface you will find. Close this welcome file, click on file option, click on open folder option, and just navigate to the place where you have created your folder. I have created in my E drive. This is the backend folder. I will select it and click on this select folder option. Now that folder is opened. Now here, create one JavaScript file. Create one JavaScript file, something called server.js. Server.js. So next step is open Visual Studio Code, then open the folder and create server.js file. Once it is done, then what we have to do? Sixth step. We have to install Express.js. We have to install Express.js. So we have installed Node.js. Now we have to install Express.js. How to install Express.js? For that, in your Visual Studio Code, you can open your terminal. Okay, so open your terminal. So to open your terminal, you will have here 3 dots. Click on that 3 dots. Then you will have terminal option. Select this terminal. In that, click on this new terminal option. When you click on this new terminal, like this, one terminal will open. Now here, you have to use the command. So to install your Express, you have to use the command npm install express. This is the command we have to install. This is the command we have to use to install this Express.js. So go back here and use that command npm install express. Now it will install Express in your application, in your system. It will install Express.js in your system. So once Express is installed, now 7th step is create your web server. 7th step is now we have to create, in short I will write, we have to create backend application now. Or I will write here, add backend code to create backend application. Backend application. So here now we have to create our backend. We have to add backend code to create backend application. So right now you guys don't have any kind of knowledge on Express.js, Node.js, all that. So even if I explain all that, it will take a lot of time for you. So what I will do, I will directly write some code here. So what you need to understand, okay, one backend application is created and some backend code is written. That is what you guys have to understand right now here. So here I will import my Express package. I will initialize it. Nothing but I'm just writing some backend code, guys. So if you understand, well and good. If you don't understand, don't worry. Right now you have to just assume that, okay, some backend code is written. And here I will create one backend server, nothing but web server with some port number. Here I will add one message like server started. And here I will create one endpoint, something like this. Okay, don't worry what I am writing, guys, because you won't understand all this right now, but just try to see the output. Here I will say something like backend is working. Some code I have written here. Some code I have written using Express and Node.js. Now I will start my backend application. So I'm starting here my backend application. So when I start my backend application, you will find here one message called server started, and your cursor will wait here. So what I have done right now, just let's try to understand. So already we have here our database. Now I have created one backend application. I have created here one backend application. Let's assume that this is our backend application. This backend application I have created using Node and Express. Inside this backend application, I am creating one REST API. I am creating one REST API. Here I am creating one REST API. We call it as a REST API. So here this code, this is the code which I have written to create REST API. Here I have created the REST API. REST API is created. Here I have written the code to create web server and start. So this code will create one web server internally and it will start the server. And this code I have written to create one REST API. REST API, one simple API. There is nothing in this. Now, if you want to send the request to this API, now you can create your front-end application. You can create one front-end application, and from front-end application, you can send one request to this API. You can send a request to this API. Now, if you send one request to this API should send. This API should send some response back to the client. It should send some response back to the client. Now, as a client, we are going to use React.js. We are going to use React.js. But right now, we don't have React.js. Right now, we don't have React.js. We don't have React application. We did not create. So what we will do, instead of React.js, okay, instead of React.js, here we will use browser. We will use normal browser as a client. And we will send the request. So using browser also we can send the request. So how to send the request to this API? For that, to get the request to this API, we have to create here one URL. And URL will be like this. It will be http://localhost : what is the port number we have given here? Something called 49s. So we have to use 49s. So this is the URL, guys. This URL we have to use to send the request to this API. So copy this URL. Go back to the browser. Let's open one tab. Okay, let me stop my server and restart it. And let me type that URL here. If I am typing this URL, press on enter button. You will get that backend is working. You got here backend is working. See here, I got backend is working. So successfully we created one basic backend application. Let me show you this flow. So see, if I open this tab and here if I type facebook.com and if I press on enter button, what is this? This is the URL. If I type this URL and press on enter button, I am getting here one login page. Same I want to do with my application. When I type this URL, so here if I type this URL and if I press on enter button, I want to get here login page. I want to get here one login page. So for that, what we are going to do in our backend application, we will create one HTML file. We will say something called login.html. Here we will create one login page. Now to create login page, it will take some time. So let's take the help of our friend, that is AI, that is ChatGPT. Let's ask ChatGPT, create a login page with styles using HTML and CSS only. See how powerful the ChatGPT is. I just written one statement, create a login page with style using HTML, CSS only. You will see that it will write entire code for you. Now, if I ask you to write this much code, you will take lot of time. You will take lot of time to write this code. You will take minimum 30 minutes to write this code. But ChatGPT is able to write this same code within 10 seconds. You can copy this, you can paste here. Now let me check whether this file is loading in our browser or not. See how ChatGPT created one login page. So my requirement is, whenever I type this URL, localhost colon 999 and press on enter button, I should get here that login page. So for that, I have to write here some code. In my backend, I have to write here some code. So I'm just writing some code here. So I'm just installing one module called FS module. Now using this FS module, I will read. So here I will use read file. I will add here something called login.html. Okay, some code I am writing here. Don't worry what code I am writing. You just try to understand that in this API, I am writing the code to read the content from this file and send to client. I will explain you the process. So let me just write this code. So if there is any error while reading the content from my file, I want to send the response by saying that something went wrong. Else, I just want to send the data. Okay, here I'm just writing some code, guys. Let me just check whether it works or not. Then I will explain you what I have done. Now see, when I am refreshing, I am getting my page. So let me explain you what I have done now. Okay, so here I have created database. I have node application. In this node application, I created one API. I created one API. Okay. Inside this API, I have written some code. What is that code? I have written the code to access the data from login.html file. In this API, I have written the code to access the data from login.html file and send that data to browser as a response. So inside this API, I have written the code to access the data from login.html file. Now this is the API, guys. From here, from line number 6 to line number 14, this is called API. Inside this API, I have written some code. What is that code? I am reading the file. Which file I am reading? I am reading login.html file. So this login.html file, in this whatever code is there, whatever data is there, I am reading all this content. Reading means I am accessing all this content and I am storing here. And that data I am sending back as a response. Now, whenever I type this URL, http://localhost:9999 and press on enter button, you will see login page. So let me just close all this. Let me just press enter button. See, I got login page. Same thing I am doing with the Facebook also. If I open new tab, I will type here facebook.com. I will see Facebook login page. Same thing happens in Instagram also. If I type here some URL, press on enter button, I will get the login page of Instagram. Same thing I am doing with my backend application. If I type my URL, http://localhost:999, I will get my login page. So how we are able to get this? At our server, we already created one login page and we kept. Whenever from our browser a request will come, server will send that login page to the browser. Browser will display. So browser will request. Now here we have a browser. Now from browser, we are sending the request to this endpoint. Now what this endpoint is doing, in this backend, there is one file called login.html. It is connecting with this file. It is reading all this content, and that content it is sending back as a response to the browser. Now what browser is doing? Browser is displaying that here. Browser is displaying that here. Now instead of browser, we have to use here React application. We have to use here React application. So instead of browser, here we have to use React application. So here if you use React application, and if you have Node.js, and if you can connect Node.js with your database, and if you are able to get that user's data, then that is called MERN stack application. Now let's see how to connect our Node Express application with this database. So if you want to connect your Node application with the database, you have to install one package called MongoDB. You have to install one package called MongoDB. And the command for it is npm install MongoDB. You have to install this package. Okay, now see here. Now this is your backend application. Now here you have MongoDB server first. In that you created one database. In that database, we created one collection. And in this collection, we have our data. Let's assume that this is our data. Like this, we have 10 users data. Like this, we have 10 users data. Now, this is our backend application. Node.js plus Express. Now, here we created one API. Now, we have a browser. We have here browser. So, from browser, we are going to send one request. From browser, we will send one request to this API. Now, what this API should do? This API should connect with MongoDB server first. It should connect with MongoDB server first. And from MongoDB server, it should connect with database. After connecting with database, it should connect with collection. After connecting with collection, from this collection, it should access this entire data. It should access that entire data. And that data, it should send to the browser. Browser should display here. So from browser, we are going to send the request. Request will come to this API. This API will connect with server, Mongo server. Then it will connect with database. Then it will connect with collection. And then it will access that data. And from there, that data will be sent back to the browser. It will be sent back to the browser. It will simply send back to the browser. Let's see how to do all this. So to connect our API with this Mongo server, this database, this collection, and to access the data from collection, we require this package. We require this MongoDB package. So we have installed that package. Now here I will create another API. I will say app.get. I will say /db. And here I am creating some code here. I'm just writing here some code. So for this, what we need to do, first we have to install our MongoDB package. So we have to install something called Mongo client. So don't worry what I am writing, because again, if I explain all this, it will take a lot of time for you. That is the reason directly I am writing here some code. So I'm just adding here some code. So don't worry what I am writing here. So you just understand that I am just trying to connect my Node.js application with MongoDB database. So for that, I am writing some code here. I have installed my MongoDB package and I am writing some code here. So whenever request will come to this endpoint, so first I need to connect. I need to connect with my MongoDB server. So here, once it is connected, then one message should come that connected successfully. Connected with MongoDB server. And if anything went wrong, then in that case, it should print failed to connect with MongoDB server. Failed to connect. Okay, whenever a request will come to this API, first it should connect with MongoDB server. So here I am writing the logic, connect with MongoDB server. So if successfully it connects, this message will print. If there was any wrong, then this message will print. So how to send the request to this API? For that, almost the URL will be same. Just additionally, we have to add /db. So if you send the request to your backend application with this URL, then this API will execute. /db API will execute. If you send request with this URL, then this API will execute. So let me stop my server, restart it. So whenever you do some changes, you have to stop and you have to restart. Let me just copy this. Let me go back here and let me add that and click on enter. Now let me check here whether I am getting that message or not. So here I got this mistake. Okay, maybe I have done here some wrong. So here, this part. Okay, here I have done the mistake, guys. So just I have to remove this. I have to add here, not there. Yeah. Now let me stop the server and restart again. Now let me go back here. Let me refresh again. Now let me just check here. Now see here, I got message connected with MongoDB server. So here I have written the code to connect with my MongoDB server. Once I connect with my MongoDB server, then I should connect with database. Connect with database. Now to connect with database, we have to use same Mongo client here. dot we have to say DB. So here we have used this MongoDB, right? Here MongoDB I have used. Let me just use that MongoDB. Then MongoDB.db I have to use. To which database you want to connect? Shine.db. Now this line will connect with the database and it will return the database reference. Let's hold that in one variable. So right now you won't understand, just understand this line will connect with the database. Once it is connected with the database, we have to connect with collection. Connect with collection. So for this, I am writing here some code db.collection. And here I am just adding our collection name, users. Now it will return us that collection to us. This line will connect with the collection. And once we are connected with the collection, then access the data. How to access the data? For that, we will use collection dot. I will use here find dot to array. I will say, okay, some code I am writing here. Error here I will say comma data. So if there is any error while accessing the data, we will send some response back to the client by saying that error while accessing the data. If everything goes well, then we will send that data back to the client. Okay, some code I have written. See, this code I have written to connect with my MongoDB server, then connect with my database, then connect with my collection, then access the data from that collection and send that data back to the client. This much code I have written. Let me stop my server, restart it. Now let me go back here and check whether I am getting the data or not. Let's check. So let me just copy this. Let me close this part. Let me go back here. Let me stop. Let me restart. So server started. Let's type that URL here. Press on enter button. Now here connected with MongoDB server. But here we are not getting any data. Let's check if something is going wrong. Let me type here. Console.log. Let me add here. Enter. Let's check if we get any error here. So here we are not getting any error. So here we are connecting. Here we are connecting. Here we are using to array error data. So our database name is ShineDB. So we are able to connect with our database. Then DB collection, we are able to connect with collection. Let me just type here console.log of COLL. Let's see what it will print here. stop, again restart. Whenever we do some changes, we have to stop and we have to restart. So here we got this message also. So successfully we are able to connect with our collection as well. So maybe something here is going wrong. So collection dot find, let me just rewrite this. So collection dot find we have to use, and here dot to array I am passing, and here we will get error comma data. If there is any error, then response dot send that error, else here we have to send that data. So here request is coming. This part it is giving us issue. So db dot collection, and we are connecting with users. So db dot collection, we are getting here users. Then collection dot find. That to array. If it is not working in this way, then let's try something else. So let's write collection dot find dot to array, and it returns promise to us. Let's catch that response. And here, let me make it async. And let me send that data back to the client. Now let me stop, restart again. Now see, we are getting the data. Okay. So that old way of writing the code, I think they have deprecated. That's why it is not working. But right now, when I change that code to async await, it is working properly now. Now see here, whenever I type my URL, and let me close all this. Now the moment I press on enter button, I will get that data. See, I am getting the data which we have added in our database. So William Harris is the last record we have in our database. I'm able to get that data. Suppose I am updating my database. I am updating my database db dot. I am saying here insert one. I'm adding one new data here, like name. I will add my Sagar. Gender, I will say here male. Okay, city, I will add here Hyderabad. Now press on enter button. Now db.insert1 is not a function. Okay, I have used wrong. Here I have to use collection name. Users dot. Now it will insert the data. Now that data is inserted. Now if I go to my browser and if I refresh here, you should see that Sagar data in our browser. The moment I refresh, now see that Sagar data we got in the browser. See here we got that details. So Sagar, mail, Hyderabad. Like this, I can insert new data in my database. I can update my data. So here I'm just updating the data to something called Ria, and here gender I will use female. So that data got inserted. If I go back to my browser and if I refresh, I will get that data. Now see, here I got that data. So from database, we are able to fetch the data and we are able to show in our browser. We are able to show in our browser. This is what we have done. So what we are able to do now, this part. From browser, we are able to send the request to our endpoint. Our endpoint is connecting with server first. So here I have written the code to connect with my server. After that, I am connecting with my database. Then I am connecting with my collection. So after connecting with server, I am connecting with database. Then connecting with collection. Then I am accessing this entire data. That data is coming to our API. From API, data is coming back as a response to the browser. As a response, data is coming to the browser. And inside the browser, we are able to display like this. We are able to display the data in this way. Understood, guys? How to display the data from database into our browser? Okay, obviously you won't understand this code, whatever I have written, because to understand this code, you have to spend so much time to understand Node, Express, you have to understand about JavaScript, you have to understand about MongoDB. So lot of time it will take. But right now we are just trying to understand how a entire backend and database integration is done. This is how we integrate our database and backend application. So generally, if I am taking any UI full stack course or if I am taking any MERN stack course, I will take this entire course for 4 to 5 months. In that 4 to 5 months, basically I start teaching students be completely from zero level, completely from zero level. And I will take it to advanced level. In that 4 to 5 months, we will start with HTML. We will start with HTML. First, we will learn HTML. HTML completely from zero to advanced. So like this, we learn this many technologies and we master front-end development. And here we learn JavaScript in very, very depth. Especially we focus on JavaScript. JavaScript we learn in very, very depth. So once front-end is done, then we start with backend. We spend our time in learning Node and Express. Because to learn Node and Express, you required JavaScript. Again, we won't learn the JavaScript here because already in front end we learned in very depth. So directly we can start using JavaScript to learn Node and Express. And once it is done, then we will learn MongoDB database. We learn MongoDB database. And to work with this MongoDB database, again, you require one language called JavaScript. So you won't require SQL language here. Here again, we required JavaScript. To work with MongoDB, JavaScript is required. To work with Node Express, JavaScript is required. And to work with React.js, again, JavaScript is required. And once we develop front-end, back-end database, then we will connect them. And in this way, entire web application we can create. And if you are using technologies like React, Node, Express, MongoDB, those are called MERN stack engineers. Already we discussed that part. So like this, I require minimum 4 to 5 months to create and to make you guys understand how to create web application. After this, you can create any type of web application. You can create applications like Instagram. You can create applications like Facebook. You can create applications like Flipkart. You can create applications like Gmail. You will be capable of creating such kind of applications. You will understand how those application works. You will get that confidence. Yes, I can create. This is how I train people on MERN stack. I train people on MERN stack. So I just wanted to know how many of you know React.js, Node.js. How many of you know React.js and Node.js, guys? Like if you know React.js and Node.js, just type 1. If you don't know, just type 0. So if you type 1, I will understand that you know React and Node. If you don't know React and Node, just type 0. So that I will get the idea how many of you know React.js and Node.js. Okay. So many people have answered here, but so many people don't know, right? But have you guys understood whatever things I have explained in this session? Means you got the idea. Like there is something called MongoDB. We have to install server. We have to create database. Then we have to insert the data. Then we have to create one backend application. There's something we have to create like API. In that we have to write the code to connect with our server, then database, then collection, then access the data, then give that data to front end. So that flow, have you guys understood with this session? So obviously you won't understand what code I have written because you don't know anything. But at least that flow you should understand. Acha, this is what we do. This is what we do, like that. So if you understood that part, just type 1. If you did not understand, if you got completely confused, then type 0. Yeah. So this is what we want. That architecture flow you guys should understand. Okay. Yeah. So when you guys learn entire full stack, guys, anywhere with me or with anyone, you will understand this entire thing. How to create entire web application. Now, whatever data we are displaying here, right? Now, this data we have to show in user interface part. So basically what we are going to do, we will use React application or React technology to create some user interface. For example, I am creating like this card. And in that card format, I will display that data. Whatever data we are displaying here, right, in the browser right now, this data we will display by creating the user interface. Like maybe you create card, or you might create table. Like this, you will create one table. And in that table, you will show that data, name, city, gender, email ID, like that, password, like that data you will show. So how to create this table? How to show that data in the table format? That is what you are going to learn in React.js. So that is what React.js will help us. React.js will help us how to create UI. React will help us how to add data of backend in the UI. How to add the data? How to add the data of backend in the UI. That is what you guys are going to learn in React.js. How to send request to the backend application. This is what you guys are going to learn in React.js. So when you learn React.js, all these things you guys are going to learn.
Sorry to interrupt, Sagar, in between.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, we have one session feedback form which like I would like to request everyone to fill.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, side by side, you can like continue this.
Okay. So guys, you have that feedback form. Just fill that feedback form, guys.
Yes.
So you might see one feedback form. Just fill that feedback form. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to cover, guys. I wanted to cover this React.js part also, but again, it will take a little bit more time for us. Maybe again, it will take 1 hour. So that much time we don't have. So right now, what I will do, I will just stop our session here so that at least you got the idea. So what is front end, what is backend, and what is database? And we have seen how to create database, how to add the data in the database, how to create one simple API in our backend, how to connect our backend with database. Means that process, that flow you understood. And how to send that data back to the client. Right now, as a client, we are using simple browser. But this part we should replace with React application. For that, you should have a proper knowledge on React application. Like proper knowledge on React, at least you should have. So if you start this part, then it will take more time. That's why right now I am skipping this part. So that at least you understood this part. This entire flow you understood how it works. So the intention of this session was this only, just to make you guys understand how a web application works, how front end, back end, and database works. What is the sync between them? So from front end, how we are sending the request to back end. From back end, how we are connecting with database, how we are accessing, and how we are giving that data to front end people. That was the intention of this entire session. Okay. So if possible, if I get any opportunity, then I will take one more workshop only on React part, means how to connect our front end with back end. Okay, guys. Yeah. So anyone have any doubts, any kind of questions if you have, feel free to ask.
Yeah, Sagar, actually we have two, three questions with us.
Okay.
Okay, so first one is, can you suggest some good resources or tutorials for someone just starting with MongoDB and Express?
Okay. So the best way, guys, the best way is to learn from the official documentation. Suppose if you want to learn MongoDB, the best way is to go to their official website called mongodb.com, and you can visit their docs page, and from there everything completely from basics to advanced you can learn about the MongoDB, and that too in very easier way. So if you want to learn, just go to the browser and search for MongoDB docs. Here you can search for MongoDB documentation. So if you go to this MongoDB documentation, here everything they will provide you from basics to advanced. Suppose you want to learn with the help of Node.js or database manual. If you want, just click on this database manual. You will learn here everything about the database. So they are starting with what is MongoDB. And from here, they will explain everything. Here you will find everything. All the concepts of MongoDBs are present. So this is the best way to learn. Apart from this, if you want to learn about React, the same thing, go to react.dev. So if you visit this react.dev, this is the official website of React. So you can click on learn option here and you can start learning React step by step. Everything they have provided here. So step by step, you can start reading these articles. You can start learning the things. So always prefer official documentations to learn any technology. So here you will get the accurate information and you can learn completely from zero level to advanced level. Yeah. So next question.
Okay, how important is it to learn CSS and design principles when working with React?
Okay. So guys, CSS is very, 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 very important because without CSS, you cannot add styles. You cannot add styles to your UI. And if you don't add styles to your UI, then people will never visit your website or web application. See, we want the look. So if you don't have look for your application, if you don't have proper styles for your application, it will not attract your users. And if your users are not attracted, then you will not be able to do the business with your web application. So when you are working with front-end part, when you are working with designing part, CSS is very, very, very important to give a better user experience. The more better user experience you have, the more users will attract towards your website. So it is very, very important to understand all the CSS principles and to work with the CSS.
Okay, so next question is, which part of MERN stack should I focus on first as a beginner?
Okay. So as a beginner, you can start with any part, guys. You can start with front-end part, or you can start with back-end part, or you can start with database. But my personal suggestion will be go with front-end part. Why go with front-end part? Because visually you will be able to see the output. Plus, you will get more interest to work towards these technologies. So if you start with backend part and database, everything you have to work on this terminal. So how we are working on this terminal, everything will be like this. So there are a lot of chances that people might not get interest to learn these things. So the best way to become a MERN stack engineer and to start your MERN stack journey is with front end part. Because here we have very basic technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which is much more easier to understand compared to your backend part. So better to start with front end part, guys.
Okay, thank you. We have last question. Are there any beginner friendly tools to test API endpoints easily?
Yeah, so we have something called Postman tool. There is a tool called Postman. Okay, Postman tool. So if you just go to the browser and if you just search for Postman tool, so here you will find that. So this tool you can download, and again the same process of downloading and installing the tool as we have installed our Node.js and MongoDB server. So once you install this tool, this is how the icon will be created on your desktop. This is the Postman tool. So if you just double click on this tool will open. Okay, so this is what the user interface you will see. When you open that tool, it will ask you to sign up. So if you want to sign up, you can sign up. If you don't want to sign up, just close this part. And here you will find something like this. When you open first time, you will find here this user interface, something like this. This is how the user interface will be when you open first time. Now you can click on this plus option. And now here you can test all your APIs. You can test get API or post API, put API, patch API, delete API, all the APIs you can test. Here you can simply add your URL and you can click on send button. That result you will see here. So if I just go to our URL, like if I copy this URL and if I go to this postman and if I type that URL here and uh, click on send, now you will see that data is displayed here. So this is very simple tool, guys, to test your APIs. Postman, and it is very, very popular tool as well. So 80% of people in the industry uses this tool only for testing your APIs. Whether you are testing Node API or Java API or Python API, whatever API it might be. So people prefer Postman.
Okay, thank you so much, Sagar, for like answering these questions. Before ending the session, like any piece of advice you want to give to the people who are like watching us right now, or someone who is going to enter the industry, some freshers.
Yeah. So especially for freshers, guys, if you are entering into industry or if you are looking for jobs, when you are learning any kind of technology, try to build projects. This is where people will lag a lot. So they learn the technologies, but they fail to create the projects. And even if they create projects, they will create very basic projects like calculator project or something like a simple project where you will have a CRUD operation. So don't try to create such simple projects. Try to create some complex projects like e-commerce project, or try to create a job portal project, or maybe any social media kind of platform you can create. So this kind of complex projects you try to create. Whenever you are learning any technology, try to build the small project initially. And once you learn that entire technology, try to build one main project. So the more projects you will build, the more experience you will have how to use your concepts in real time, which will help you to crack your interviews and in very easier way. And if you are targeting for product-based companies or MNCs, make sure you guys are learning data structures. So many people skip this part, that is your data structure part. So if you are targeting for high packages or product-based companies or MNCs, make sure you guys are learning data structures. Data structure with any language you can learn. But my preference will be try to learn with C++ or you can use Java. So first preference you try to give C++. If you are not interested in C++, then try to give Java. But try to learn data structures with C++ or Java. So keep this technology in your pocket, guys. And keep
Thank
building the projects.
Okay, thank you, Saga, for delivering the session. We are really grateful for the time and the knowledge you have shared. And to everyone who have joined us, thank you very much for being a part of this learning experience. And still, if you guys have any question, please feel free to reach out to us or directly connect with Sagar. And session recordings are also like available on our YouTube and LinkedIn. And I have also shared the URL so you can revisit it anytime. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you so much, Sagar, once again.
Yeah.
And still, if you guys have any questions, thank you, Sagar. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care, everyone.